So what can you expect from a $260 integrated amplifier? Well, in this case, I think you can expect a lot. Hi, I'm Bob and you are in the United States of Analog. And today we have the SMSL AL200 Class D integrated amplifier. But first, let's talk a little bit about our insane hobby. Yeah, if you're going to dive into the world of audio, well, you're going to need to manage your expectations a little bit, all right? You've got to be realistic. For instance, expecting that you can convert outdoor extension cords into high-end speaker cable? Well, I mean, come on. Who would try that? Or here's another one. Thinking that a first edition PlayStation 1 can replace a $6,000 CD player. I know someone wrote about it online, but who in their right mind would... Guilty as charged, Your Honor. Listen, when you get into this world, you're going to see and read and hear all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Especially about components that can punch above their weight. It's what YouTube videos and dreams are made of. Audiophiles love bargains, and so do I. Some guys, assuming guys with no kids or child support, just go out and buy their ultimate endgame system right out of the gate, including those little speaker cable bridges on the floor there and $50,000 in room correction. But I mean, where's the sport in that? Most of us are searchers. We enjoy the hunt. It gives us purpose. But the search never ends, thankfully. One of the great audiophile joys is to find a true value out of sport or out of pure necessity if we're on a budget. I just came across a new component that changed my perceptions of what fun-fi can really be. Now, I created that term fun-fi a few videos back. A compact integrated amplifier at $260 that's solid, well-built, and has multiple inputs. Quality electronics, quiet Class D power, EQ, and MQA. Woo! MQA decoding, all right, and much more. It's a near all-in-one system that might have you challenging your idea of what a budget component can look like and sound like. I'm talking about the SMSL AL200. All right, let's run it down. In the box, you'll find the main unit, a detachable power cable. It should be noted that this is not a power brick, and I love that. The power supply is right inside the unit. There's a USB cable, a quick start guide, and a useful Amazon-style black plastic remote. It's not Amazon branded, but it looks like one of those Fire Stick remotes. It weighs about 4 pounds and is about the size of a hardcover novel. It feels heavy and solid for its class. It's got 85 watts times 2 into 8 or 165 times 2 into 4, and unlike some other fun-fi products I've experienced, and comparing it to my Technique 70-watt digital, those stats could be pretty accurate this time around. I felt the power. Distortion is low. SMSL has apparently put a lot of thought into the components they've chosen. A Japanese JRC volume control chip, Infineon MA5332MS Class D multi-chip amp module, a Cirrus decoder chip, and a third generation XU316 supporting 32768 and DSD to 256. It's a lot of numbers, but the most important part, MQA. It's included inside. It really is a name brand international affair, and all those numbers aside, I think it really pays off in the sound it delivers. Now on the front, left to right, a full-size headphone jack, LED display, and a power/function knob. On the back, left to right, power, decent speaker terminals, optical in, USB in, coax in, and RCA analog in. The bottom has very modest rubber feet. There are no visible vents or heat sinks. The unit is very cool to the touch. I ran it for hours and never felt it even get warm. The sides flare out, separating it from its larger traditional amplifier brothers. Some will criticize that look, but I do like the general aspect ratio of the front of the unit, which mirrors those bigger amplifier brothers. Like the recent release of the FOSI V3 power amp, this unit transcends the quality expectations from other gear in this category. It's something that you can be proud to own. Now, accessible from the front panel, volume knob and the remote are many adjustments like tone controls, 8 EQ presets including a direct. There are a number of digital filters if you want to get your digital hands dirty. I don't. You can also control the headphone and speaker input, display brightness, and much more. It took me about 10 minutes to get comfortable with the interface, and then it was smooth sailing through the menu. So what's missing? There's no built-in streaming, no HDMI, but it can still be part of a small soundbar replacement system. There's no phono pre or any pre-outs, no dedicated sub-out. Subheads can always find a way, right, with the right speaker and the right cables. I did not go there, and in retrospect, I don't even think I needed to. Let's talk MQA. Look, you can hate me for liking MQA processing, all right? But just, if you're going to hate me in the comments below so the algorithm will be happy. I won't be happy, but the algorithm will. But listen, maybe a sucker is born every minute, but I look at it as another weapon in my audio arsenal. I use it primarily in title, and I look for the MQA and master files. It just makes me feel better, and I have no issue with the sound other than I think it sounds great to my ears. I know there is much controversy and speculation about MQA and its future. I know the purists hate it. To that I say, you like what you like, and no one ever died from listening to MQA. In the small guide, they talk mostly about MQA on CD. I don't know anybody that possesses a MQA CD or player, but when I connected my Node via optical and played Steely Dan's Hey 19 from Tidal on my iPad, I smiled just a little bit when that bright violet MQA indicator light came on the display. MQA, baby! I say, don't hate, participate. Then I had a crazy idea. Take the $600 Node offline and plug in my $80 WIIM mini streamer. I was thrilled when the AL200 allowed me to output 24,192. That's what it showed me. Then I fired up the master quality Home in the Delta from Muddy Waters' Amazeballs folk singer album. The MQA beacon lit and the display offered the number 192. What? MQA 192 from an $80 streamer, smaller than a Fancy Feast cat food can? That's actually the best reference you're going to hear during this entire video. Now, for my evaluation, I did use a rotate-in 2 streaming devices because I think this is how most people will use the AL200 with a streamer. That or Bluetooth, which is included. I use both the Bluesound Node Gen 3, which I like very much, and the WIIM mini streamer, the best value in hi-fi it's been called. And I utilize the optical inputs or the analog inputs by adding a Gishelli Labs J2 DAC, the AKM DAC, for some tests. The speakers I rotated in were my Klipsch Forte IVs, Klipsch Gen 1 RP-600ms. Both of those speakers are highly efficient, as you know. And I also plugged in my KEF LS50 Metas. I did not connect a sub as I no longer have one that can accept a high-level signal from the speaker terminals. Honestly, no lie, I did not miss the sub at all. The highly efficient Fortes, as you would expect, paired very well, but price-wise, they're a mismatch. It's unfair. There's a big price delta there. You could buy 20 200s, AL200s, for the price of the Forte 4s. But it was fun, punchy, and clean sounding. Next up, the LS50 Metas, about the price of 6 AL200s. I kind of retired them a few months ago because they just stopped exciting me for whatever reason, I don't know. But man, did they come alive with the AL200. Metas, where have you been all my life? The soundstage improved and the center image was better. I thought it was an exceptional combination. Now, I've always used the 50s with a sub in the past, but I literally forgot that one wasn't plugged in. I don't know what the AL200's doing there. And I like to listen in the direct or zero EQ position. But occasionally I'd hit the EQ2 SDB. It was like a loudness switch on my 70s Marantz receiver. And it gave me even more punchy, forward, maybe slightly exaggerated sound. But it was a ton of fun. Especially for playing like classic rock music, because that's where I land sometimes. It was also great for low-level listening, which is probably what it was designed for. Those are the two EQs that impressed me the most and I use the most, but 90% of the time I was indirect and I liked that best because I feel like it delivered more of that audiophile sound, those audiophile attributes like depth and imaging and separation. Your ears may vary, all right? I did not apply the digital filters past the default. I don't know what they're for. I got to admit, my ears definitely couldn't hear the difference, but they may be useful to some of you. Yeah, here we go again. We're talking about a component that's fun. I don't know about you, but not every one of my listening sessions is about dissecting the sound to the nth degree. That would be exhausting. That's not how most people listen. And in that regard, maybe I'm more of a dedicated listener than a true reviewer, though I'm trying to be a good reviewer. Did you know that in the early days of hi-fi, reviewers and enthusiasts tested their system with sound effects like trains and thunderstorms? It's true. Man, we've come a long way. And I just need to connect to the music on an emotional level. That's all I ask about any piece of equipment. I want distortion-free, emotional impact. No matter what the music was I was listening to, I was getting pretty clean, high-impact, full sound. Surprisingly full. I didn't feel like I needed a subwoofer, even in direct. I never really missed it. I don't think my Klipsch 600Ms ever made it better with an amplifier. I really started loving them again and put to rest the notion of getting the Gen 2 versions. Now, I've talked much on my channel about my faithful Technics Class D or digital amplifier. I'm not going to argue the semantics with you here. You can fight below and help the algorithm. It's 10 times the cost, and the AL200 was pulling off many of the qualities I love about my Techniques. Maybe the sound isn't as deep, and maybe the soundstage isn't as wide on every recording, and the sound is a little forward, especially on rock, but I think that forward sound is good for me. All the sound there is punchy, alive, and detailed as I've explained, non-fatiguing as I push the levels to my personal limit of about 85 dB. Put on recorded fare like I did, like SRV's Little Wing, Steely Dan, Hey 19, Talking Heads, Girlfriend is Better, and you'll be reliving your youth with the SMSL. It's that good. It handles the intense cymbal crashes that open the opera Carmen. Yeah, I listened to a little opera. And it puts instruments all around the room as intended on Roger Waters' Amused to Death album. At the end of the day, no piece of gear at any price can do everything and have every feature. And expensive, coveted gear can be fun to own, but if you're new to this game or even a seasoned pro and you're willing to manage some expectations and perceptions about audio, this might very well be the best $260 you can spend for an almost all-in amplifier. Just add speakers or headphones, add a WIIM mini streamer for $80, and you're cruising with high-res and MQA master audio. Add an external DAC like the Geshelli Labs J2 and add to the AL200's prowess with more depth and air. Again, the SMSL AL200 retails for $260. I have a link in the description. That's kind of at the high end, I think, of the fun-fi gear category. Is it a replacement for gear at many times its price multiples like my amazing Technics G700? No, you got to manage your expectations, like I said, but it can come close in some regards, definitely. Has those qualities. It does make some of the hairs stand up on the back of your neck like the Technics does. The sound is not thin. It's got a organic, not a digital quality. There's real instrument separation and a whitish soundstage. It varies from recording to recording. It doesn't blanket me in warmth like my Mac hybrid amp does. And it doesn't offend below 85 dB sound level. Not even on the 600s, which can kind of piss you off sometimes with the wrong amp. 85 dB is more than enough for me. This amp is a nice combination of detail and punch. Just don't overthink it when you're listening. Have fun. It has all kinds of ways to tailor the sound to anyone's liking using the front dial display or the remote, which is supplied. Again, for the most part, I dug the default EQ. It gave me the most audiophile experience, like a big boy amplifier would. And speaking of that, what is the mainstream competition at $250, $260 and integrated with these features and form factor? Well, there's probably not much honest unless you're looking at maybe some clearance or blowout sales. Anyway, don't pass on this amp for what it's not. Get it for what it is. A fun, carefree, compact unit with decent, honest power, multiple inputs, and a handy amount of available sound shaping. You know, when you buy expensive audiophile gear, you spend a lot of time listening to sound and not to music. I'm guilty of that, probably because you need to justify and I need to justify my purchase. Reviewers talk about listener fatigue a lot. It's a real thing with harsh sounding gear, but I think there's also fatigue from listening too hard with your ears and your brain. When you drop $260 on an integrated amp that looks good and does a lot of things right sonically, you can breathe and have fun. You can listen and enjoy the healing properties of the music. Like when you were a kid, when you were younger, before you had a career with a little discretionary income, before you became obsessive. With the SMSL AL200, you can relax, listen, because you just beat the system. Thanks for being here in the United States of Analog today. Check this amp out and check me out in future videos or some of the videos I've done in the past. We'll see you next time.